Okay, this one's recorded slightly after the previous one, so all of that stuff, plus some more, and some added time. A quick thank you to the T5 peeps. Bob the Dragon, Data Magnet, Cat Crab Lobster, Duck Machine, Try Again 95, Astray the Dreamer, Mesic, Budic Joel, German Chemist, Casper Arnholtz, and Chaos to Must. Thank you very much. Anyways, on to the noms. I hope you enjoy. The Care and Feeding of Humans, Part 14. Humans have the capacity for improvisation. When things break or when they fail, humans have an inherent ability to put improbable items together to create a solution. One of their heroes is famous for being able to create and fix almost any problem with tape and a knife. His name has become synonymous for creating solutions with the least amount of materials available. Dubiak Review of Ontological Species Studies. The Care and Feeding of Humans. Tape holds the universe together. Published by Glass and Steel. The Care and Feeding of Humans. Translation Engine 3.14159. When the second droid was attacked, at least this time they got video on the camera that was pointed at the sky. What had been a small dot in the sky turned into a brief image of feathers and the darkness, as the giant bird took out the droid. When they caught up the wreckage of the droid, Nerif noticed that Tarif was looking worried. "What's wrong?" she asked him. "We've lost 2 droids in 2 days and almost all of their supplies. I'm sure we can get by on what we have left, but I like having the comfort of knowing that we have extra supplies." Nerif looked at the humans. "I'll let them know about the supply situation," she told Anesta. Tarif frowned at her. "I can do it," he said. Nerif shook her head. "I know that you can do it, but as a liaison, it is my job to do it," she said. Nerif walked up to where Querif and Alan were examining the wreckage, while Zoe looked on and Nate scanned the forest and the sky around them. "I'm afraid the supplies are getting close to being an issue," Nerif began, and Zoe gave her a sharp look. "What do you mean?" "We've lost 2 droids in 2 days. 1.5, really. Theoretically, we could make it on the supplies on the 1 droid, but I thought I should call out that it may be an issue, especially if we lose the last droid tomorrow." Zoe smiled. "I didn't send the droid out with our supplies. We split them up in our packs, and they're still good shape. However," she frowned a little, "we did pack damaged parts of the first droid into the second droid. We're running out of room to carry droid parts. To say nothing of the fact that the last droid looked like it was attacked from the sky, and the first droid looked like it was attacked from the ground." "Zoe," Nate interrupted, "I'm not liking the look of the sky." Nara looked up at the sky and saw dark clouds, almost purple against the noon sky. Streaks of light appeared in the clouds, and Nara shivered, remembering last night's storm. "Back home," Nate said, "we'd call that a supercell." "Yeah," Zoe agreed. "And based on last night, it's probably going to feel like one. Let's set our tents up under the trees. The force field should keep any of the fallen branches from crashing into us, and maybe the trees will take the lightning hit instead of the tent." Fubsby woke up while everyone was working to set up the 2-tier tent system, as she objected to having to stay in Alan's sling. Once the tents were up, however, Alan was able to let her walk around freely and explore. The first thing she discovered was that she couldn't walk outside the boundaries of the tent. Not having a combat, the tent didn't recognize her as being that was allowed in and out of the tent. This seemed to make Fubsby angry, and she tried clawing at the force field, to no avail. After a few scratches that did nothing, Fubsby stopped and licked herself. After a few licks, she got distracted by Alan waving his fingers at her. She pounced at his fingers. Alan pulled them away and then waved them again at her, encouraging her to pounce. "Alan, what are you doing? You are teaching the carnivore that your body is a toy for attacking," Nerif said, worry clear on her face and in her voice. "Alan is the biggest cat toy in the world," Nate said, while Zoe said, "Alan, cut it out. You know better than that." Alan's ears turned red, but his grin didn't lessen. "Okay, I got a better toy for her." He took a piece of the trash that had been in him back and held one of Tarif's creations and crumpled it. "Come on, Fubsby," he called out, and threw the ball past her. Fubsby, who had been considering attacking Narif's clothes, whirled around and darted after the crumpled ball and bounced. evidently getting much satisfaction from crunching sound the ball made when she landed on it. She proudly pranced back to Alan, the ball in her mouth, and dropped it in front of him. "Good girl," he said. "Good, Bubsby." The next time Busby brought the ball back, she brought it to Zoe. The time after that, much to Nerif's surprise, Bubsby brought the ball to her. When Bubsby got tired of bringing the ball back and just sat down and started trying to chew on it, Alan deftly swapped the ball for a small plate of infant carnival Formula 1. After eating, Bubsby washed herself and then walked away. "She's looking for a place to sleep," Alan explained. "Just leave her be, she'll be fine." Nerif wasn't sure ignoring a predator, no matter how small, was the best idea. However, later, she spied the sleeping on Zoe's lap, and Nerif thought that it was the best solution. Zoe would know how to deal with Bubsby if she did anything that wasn't cute and adorable, and reeked of an apex predator. Since they'd been forced to make camp in the middle of the day, Nerif wasn't really tired enough to sleep, but found she didn't have a lot of other things to do this early either. Nate and Zoe had just finished discussing something while Zoe held her hand over Bubsby's sleeping body. Nerif headed over to her. "I feel lost," she said. "I don't really have anything to do until Tariff is done making the midday meal." Zoe smiled. Being bored on an expedition is pretty rare. Enjoy it before the storm hits. Nerif glanced up at the sky, seen through the shifting colors of the 10 force fields. The storm had lost none of its impressive size and seemed bigger and closer now. Nerif shivered just a little. Zoe noticed and said, "Nate is working on jerry-rigging something for you in the rifts, and maybe a little Bubsby here." Bubsby made a small noise in her sleep, evidently in response to her name. "If it works the way we hope, it should help you and the boys in case we have some more storm problems. He might want some help if you need something to distract you from the storm." Curious, Nerif looked over at Nate. As far as she could tell, Nate was taking all the trash and taping it together. Nerif walked over to him. "Nate, what are you doing?" He looked up and smiled. "Hey, Nerif, making you and the boys some warming suits." "It looks like you're taping trash together," Nerif said, doubt clear in her voice. "Not just any trash," Nate said in mock hurt. "This is old food trash, stuff that Tariff has been using to keep the food hot or cold, so it still tastes good when we eat it. Now, just one bag over your hand will be like a mitten, a covering to keep your hand warm," he said, when he saw her confused look. "If you tape a bunch of them together and then shape them like clothes." Nate draped a long piece of trash around Nerif's and taped it. "Ta-da!" Nerif felt the warmth from the food-ready bag soaking into her. She wasn't cold at the moment, so this would quickly become hot, but she could imagine how warm it would be if she got caught in the cold rain again. This is amazing," Nerif said, rubbing her hand over the top layer of tape and bags. "How did you even think of this?" "Zoe and I kicked some ideas around until we figured out a way to MacGyver a thermal suit for you three. Plus, we have a little one for the kitten too. Hopefully, we won't need to use them. But, just in case." Nerif headed back to Zoe, who was absent-mindedly petting Bubsby. "Zoe, thank you so much for the thermal suit," Nerif said. Zoe looked up at her and smiled, but it seemed a sad smile and didn't make it to her eyes. "Thank you, Nerif, for following me out into that storm. I was mad at you at the time, but it really meant a lot to me, after my last expedition." Zoe paused and swallowed. "After my last expedition," she said again. "I swore I would never do another expedition. I didn't just lose my arm, I lost anyway, I swore I'd never do it again. But I couldn't afford the nanites that would help regrow my arm. The medic seemed to think that the prosthetic was good enough." Zoe looked down at her right arm with a grimace. "But all it does, every day, is remind me of what happened. I can't get past it. I can't get over it. Because the damn thing is here is reminding me. And it doesn't matter if it's better than my old arm. It reminds me that I wasn't good enough to save everyone that needed saving. I signed up for one last expedition, and I met you and the Rifts and Nate and Alan." Zoe shook her head and gave a little bitter laugh. The irony is that my last expedition, the leader really played up the whole humans are so badass thing. That's what ended up getting us in trouble. And then I joined this expedition, and it's the same thing all over again. Nate talks about it all the time, and you hired us because our special skill was being human. Zoe sighed. But you know what? I think everything will turn out okay, whether or not humans are badasses of the galaxy. End of chapter. And that, my friends, concludes this video. I hope that you enjoyed.